button. Okay, Hare Krishna. This is a Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam introduction. We're going to start off the chapter that we are not, the paragraph that we already read, just to pick up on where we left off. This is Life and Precepts of Lord Chaitanya. So I'll just start out here. The readers of this small description of the life and precepts of Lord Chaitanya will profit much to go through the books of Srila Vrindavan Thakur, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. The early life of the Lord is most fascinatingly expressed by the author of Chaitanya Bhagavat, and as far as his teachings are concerned, they are more vividly explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now they're available to the English-speaking public and are teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Go ahead, Mike.
The Lord's early life was recorded by one of his chief devotees and contemporaries, namely Srila Murari Gupta, a medical practitioner of that time, and the latter part of the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was recorded by his private secretary, Sri Damodar Goswami, or Srila Svarup Damodar, who was practically a constant companion of the Lord at Puri. These two devotees recorded practically all the incidents of the Lord's activities, and later on, all the books dealing with the Lord, which are above mentioned, were composed on the basis of kadachas, notebooks, by Srila Damodar Goswami and Murari Gupta.
Okay, Al.
So the Lord advented himself on the Falguni Purnima, evening of the 1407 Sakabada, and it was by the will of the Lord that there was a lunar eclipse on that evening. During the hours of the eclipse, it was the custom of the Hindu public to take a bath in the Ganges or any other sacred river and chant the Vedic mantras for purification. When Lord Chaitanya was born during the lunar eclipse, all India was roaring with the holy sounds of the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. These 16 names of the Lord are mentioned in many Puranas and Upanishads, and they are described in the Taraka Brahma Nama of this sage. It is recommended in the Sastras that offensiveless chanting of these holy names of the Lord can deliver a fallen soul from material bondage. There are innumerable names of the Lord, but both in India and outside, and all of them are equally good. But all of them indicated the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because the 16 are especially recommended for the sage, people should take advantage of them and follow the path of the great acharyas who attained success by practicing the roles of the sastras, revealed scriptures.
Hey, does anybody know what Taraka Brahmanam is? I don't even know. Do you know, Devananda?
No, I'm sorry. I did come across it not long ago, that term, but I don't remember what it was saying about it.
I'm going to look it up right now because, I've heard it, the holy name is the Yuga Dharma, but
Taraka has something to do, I think, with the marginal energy of the Lord.
No, I mean, the 16 names are described.
Yeah, but
the Taraka Brahmanam.
That term Taraka, I think, was associated with a marginal potency. In other words,
Taraka Brahma mantra, the Maha mantra of every yuga. Okay, Taraka means, yeah. See, this is it. The Wikipedia's entry here. Okay, so that satisfied my curiosity.
So it is the Hare Krishna mantra.
Yeah, the Hare Krishna mantra, but it's particularly the mantra that's used for this age. Hold on, I got another call from Nitya. Hold on. Hello. Yeah, I'm right in the middle of giving class right now. Yeah, okay, I will. You can jump on the Zoom class if you want. We're just starting. Okay, no problem. I'll talk to you later. Thank you for doing that. I will.
There was one translation there in what you were showing from Wikipedia. And it said the mantra that delivers all.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, it doesn't matter what age it is, really. I've heard that the mantra can work in any age. It doesn't matter. It's like an all-purpose mantra. But formerly in previous ages, they used to meditate, and then they used to do sacrifice, and then they used to do deity worship. But then in this age, the special dispensation is that you just by chanting it's the Yuga, the Taraka Brahmanam. Okay, so you want to read the next paragraph, Devananda, because
All right.
the simultaneous occurrence.
The simultaneous occurrence of the Lord's appearance and the lunar eclipse indicated the distinctive mission of the Lord. This mission was to preach the importance of chanting the holy names of the Lord in this age of Kali, quarrel. In this present age, quarrels take place even over trifles, and therefore the Shastras have recommended for this age a common platform for realization, namely chanting the holy names of the Lord. People can hold meetings to glorify the Lord in their respective languages and with melodious songs, and if such performances are executed in an offenseless manner, it is certain that the participants will gradually attain spiritual perfection without having to undergo more rigorous methods. At such meetings, everyone, the learned and the foolish, the rich and the poor, the Hindus, Muslims, Englishmen, Indians, and the Chandalas and the Brahmanas can all hear the transcendental sounds and thus cleanse the dust of material association from the mirror of the heart. To confirm the Lord's mission, all the people of the world will accept the holy name of the Lord as the common platform for the universal religion of mankind. In other words, the advent of the holy name took place along with the advent of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Okay. Do you think that Prabhupada meant that it was just a chanting of Krishna's name or any name of God?
Well, he mentions in the previous paragraphs the importance of this particular mantra.
Right, the Maha Mantra.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the best one. But like the Sufis do the zikr, and the Christians do the rosary. That's also valid. But I was just on the phone with Nitya. I would like to encourage everybody to attend the Arti because I think since you're from New Vrindavan, Devananda, you know Gaur Sundar, the Ukrainian devotee?
I don't really know him. I know of him, but I don't know him.
Well, he gave class and he was blown away by the class.
Yeah.
Nitya was blown away by his class. He says that one of the most advanced classes I've ever seen. And he's actually the student of my mentor from Ukraine, Adi Prusha, who coaches me in the reading of the audiobooks. And so he's coming tomorrow to the kirtan.
Nice.
Who's coming on? I accidentally got booted off.
Yeah, so who's coming is Gaur Sundar Das. He's from Ukraine, and he's a student of Adi Prusha, who is my mentor from Ukraine. He worked with the BBT, and Gaur Sundar is like a really good scholar, and he wants to do some preaching work in one of the colleges. And I want to, as soon as I get off, I'm going to contact Mukunda and see if we can arrange for him to speak tomorrow. Of course, it's Mila's birthday. I mean, that's nice, but we want to have some pure devotees too. Like that's the main thing. You have to hear from the devotees.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's awesome. I can't wait to meet him because we have something in common. Anyway, let me read the next paragraph.
So what's happening at 7? What's happening at 7?
No, it's at not at 7.
No, you mentioned something at 7.
Tomorrow for the kirtan, Gaur Sundar is coming to the kirtan.
But you were saying earlier when you started speaking about this, Nitya called and you said something about at 7. Did you mean this evening?
No, I can't remember what I said or what he said, but he's going to try to get on. He said he was doing something. He forgot. Nitya was on one when we
Alright.
first started, we were talking about we were on the preface of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He got on, that was good.
Okay.
Maybe he'll get on this time, but he's doing other stuff now. I don't know. But
Mhm.
anyway, whether or not he gets on, I'm just going to continue on here. When
Yeah.
the Lord was on the lap of his mother, he would at once stop crying as soon as ladies surrounding him chanted the holy names and clapped their hands. This particular incident was observed by the neighbors with awe and veneration. Sometimes the young girls took pleasure in making the Lord cry and then stopping him by chanting the holy name. So, from his very childhood, the Lord began to preach the importance of the holy name. In his early age, Lord Chaitanya was known as Nimai. This name was given by his beloved mother because the Lord took his birth underneath the nimba tree in the courtyard of his paternal house. Go ahead, Mike. Unmute yourself. There you go.
When the Lord was offered solid food at the age of 6 months in the Anna-Prashana ceremony, the Lord indicated his future activities. At this time, it was customary to offer the child both coins and books in order to get some indication of the future tendencies of the child. The Lord was offered on one side coins and on the other the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The Lord accepted the Bhagavatam instead of the coins.
Okay, Al.
When he was a mere baby, crawling in the yard, one day a snake appeared before him. The Lord began to play with it. All the members of the house were struck with fear and awe. But after a little while, the snake went away, and the baby was taken away by his mother. Once he was stolen by a thief who intended to steal his ornaments, but the Lord took a pleasure trip on the shoulders of the bewildered thief who was searching for a solitary place in order to rob the baby. It so happened that the thief wandered hither and thither, finally arrived just before the house of Jagannatha Mishra, and being afraid of being caught, dropped the baby at once. Of course, the anxious parents and relatives were glad to see the lost child.
Okay, Devananda.
Once a pilgrim Brahmana was received at the home of Jagannath Mishra, and when he was offering food to the Godhead, the Lord appeared before him and partook of the prepared food. The eatables had to be rejected because the child touched them, and so the Brahmana had to make another preparation. The next time, the same thing happened. And when this happened repeatedly for the third time, the baby was finally put to bed. At about 12 at night, when all the members of the house were fast asleep within their closed rooms, the pilgrim Brahmana offered his specially prepared foods to the deity. And in the same way, the baby Lord appeared before the pilgrim and spoiled his offerings. The Brahmana then began to cry, but since everyone was fast asleep, no one could hear him. At that time, the baby Lord appeared before the fortunate Brahmana and disclosed his identity as Krishna himself. The Brahmana was forbidden to disclose this incident, and the baby returned to the lap of his mother.
I heard it. He may have at one point peed on his offering. Is that true?
That was on Murari Gupta's food.
Oh, Murari Gupta.
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So this one he just ate it, right?
Yeah.
And then he
Yeah.
disclosed that he had actually done that in Krishna Lila too, and he was the same Brahmana,
Mm-hmm.
just had taken birth in Lord Chaitanya's pastime.
My question is, the Brahmana was forbidden to disclose this incident, so how did we come to hear about it?
He was participating in the incident. The Brahmana was the one who spoiled Lord Chaitanya spoiled his offering. So the incident was that he revealed himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the Brahmana, his worshipable deity.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "You asked me to come here and eat your food, and so I did."
Yeah, but Lord Chaitanya told him, he forbade him to disclose this incident. So how do we get to hear about this incident if the Brahmana didn't say anything about it?
Well, he must have disclosed it to the Sir Damodar or one of the confidential. Put it in one of the Kadachas,
Yeah.
Because obviously the Brahmana didn't. I mean, he wanted to. I can remember reading that he wanted to tell everybody, but he was not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lord Chaitanya was Chana Avatar. He was a hidden avatar. He didn't want everybody to know he was God, you know. In fact, when anybody ever said that he was God, he like blocked his ears and chanted Krishna, Krishna, you know. He didn't want to be known as God, right?
I asked Varshana that question. I can't remember exactly how he answered it, but it's something to the effect that because Krishna is within the heart of everyone, it was revealed to others.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, you know,
Maybe. I don't know if he told. You know, it doesn't really say in the Shastra whether he told somebody else about it. You know,
I don't recall.
Yeah, I've never read anything like that, but you know, who knows?
Mhm.
Now, all I know is it's there in the books, and so you know, I mean, these learned devotees like Rupa Goswami and Krishnadas Kaviraj, you just was looking at the notebooks of Murari Gupta and what was the other one? Swarup Damodar, right?
Swarup Damodar.
They knew all these things. And Lord Chaitanya revealed the most intimate pastimes to Swarup Damodar. I mean, you know, when Rupa Goswami left that note on his hut when he went out to bathe, he came back and saw that note, and you know, Lord Rupa Goswami had read Lord Chaitanya's mind, and he was so embarrassed to, you know, he slapped him and said, "How did you know my mind?" And then he went and asked Swarup Damodar, how is it that Rupa knew my mind? And Swarup Damodar said, you empowered him to actually know these things. This is
I was reading that those verses that he wrote, Rupa Goswami wrote, were given to somebody else. They were given to somebody else to give to Lord Chaitanya. And actually, I can't remember who it was that had it in their hands. I think Murari Gupta. Before they gave it to Lord Chaitanya, they wrote it somewhere on the wall or something. Because when Lord Chaitanya received it, he ripped it up.
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya, you would often chant in the Rath Yatra. He would chant these prayers, and nobody knew what he was talking about. But Rupa Goswami knew. He knew he was like leading Krishna back to Vrindavan. Yeah, it's just amazing. You know, I mean, you have to be empowered by Lord Chaitanya in order to know these things. You know, Krishna, you know, he doesn't pick, you know, that's why we're all Rupanugas. We all want to follow in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami because he's the one that has established this science of Krishna Prema, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and we can actually gradually develop through this science. We can develop love of God. It's very easily. It's just like ABC, you know, 1, 2, 3. You can actually go from. That's what actually Nityodita was talking about the class that this Gaur Sunda gave. He mentioned all the steps of bhakti that this devotee had laid out. He said it's just as advanced as any sannyasi would give, but he's not even a sannyasi, you know, he's just a student of, but he gave such a good class, you know. I can't wait to meet him tomorrow. Are you going to come tomorrow, Devananda?
Yeah, I'm in Pittsburgh right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I had awesome. Yesterday I had a gig in Pittsburgh. It was canceled, and then afterwards they called me and they told me I had a gig today in Pittsburgh. That was after.
Okay. So they made up for that.
After we have texted. I found out that afterwards.
Oh, because you stayed at the Kirtan Center?
I'm staying there tonight. I came today. I just came today.
Oh, okay.
But you had asked me about giving him a ride, but anyway, it wouldn't work because I'm on the road for 5 days now.
No, he's got a ride. I asked Nitya if, you know, they're going to do the Vrindavan, you know, association vehicle. I don't know what that is.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I'm glad. I want to like really advertise this too and see if we can get everybody there. All of you, please come. So
I'll come.
Great. In this way, the Lord passed his early childhood.
Oh, you skipped one.
Oh, we did? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you skipped
Yeah,
the paragraph.
Okay, yeah. This is a good one too.
Yeah,
you know, Chaitanya Bhagavat is such a really great book. I mean, it's when you read that, these childhood pastimes come out, and it's just they're so vivid and descriptive that it seems like you know all these devotees by the time you read the whole thing. And these childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are so sweet. There are many similar incidents in his childhood. As a naughty boy, he used to sometimes tease the Orthodox Brahmanas who used to bathe in the Ganges. When the Brahmanas complained to his father that he was splashing them with water instead of attending school, the Lord suddenly appeared before his father as though just coming from school with all his clothes and books, school clothes and books. You know, see, when you're God, you can do that. You can get away with pranks like this. At the bathing ghat, he also used to play jokes on the neighboring girls who were engaged in worshiping Shiva in hopes of getting good husbands. This is a common practice amongst unmarried girls in Hindu families. While they were engaged in such worship, the Lord Nadali appeared before them and said, quote, "My dear sisters, please give me all the offerings you have just brought for Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is my devotee, and Parvati is my maidservant. If you worship me, then Lord Shiva and all the other demigods will be more satisfied," end quote. Some of them refused to obey the naughty Lord, and he would curse them so that due to their refusal, they would be married to old men who had 7 children by the previous wives. Out of fear and sometimes out of love, the girls would also offer him various goods, and then the Lord would bless them and assure them that they would have very good young husbands and that they would be the mothers of dozens of children. The blessings would enliven the girls, but they often used to complain of these incidents to their mothers.
When Lord Chaitanya went to the river or lake when the Brahmanas were in the water,
Yeah,
chanting their Gayatri mantras, the Lord would also go under the water and pull their legs, pull them underwater.
yeah. They were probably like smart Brahmanas, right? But whatever. I mean, Lord Chaitanya is very, very, Lord Krishna is Namo Go Brahmanya Taicha. Like he's the protector of the Brahmanas and the cows, I guess. Is that what it means? Go Brahmanya. But sometimes he would play tricks. That's just nature of a young boy. Go ahead, Michael.
In this way, the Lord passed his early childhood. When he was just 16 years old, he started his own Chatuspati village school conducted by a learned Brahmana. In this school, he would simply explain Krishna, even in readings of grammar. Jiva Goswami, in order to please the Lord, later composed a grammar in Sanskrit in which all the rules of grammar were explained with examples that used the holy names of the Lord. This grammar is still current. It is known as Harinamamrita Vyakarana and is prescribed in the syllabus of schools in Bengal.
Okay.
During this time, a great Kashmir school named
Scholar
named is it Kasava Kashmir? How do you pronounce that name?
Keshava Kashmiri.
Came to Nevada Pavi to hold discussions on the sastras. The Kashmir Pandita was a champion scholar, and he had to travel to all places of learning in India. Finally, he came to Navadvip. Sorry, I can't pronounce that word.
Navadvip.
Navadvip. Okay, Navadvip. To contest the learned Panditas there. The Panditas at Navadvip decided to match Namai Pandi, Lord Chaitanya, with the Kashmir Pandita, thinking of that Nimai Panditi were defeated. They would have another chance to debate with the scholar, for Nimai Panditi was only a boy, and if the Kashmir Pandita were defeated, then they would even be more glorified, because people would proclaim that a mere boy of Navadvip had defeated a champion scholar who was famous throughout India. It so happened that Nimai Pandita met Kasava Kashmir while strolling on the banks of the Ganges. The Lord questioned him to compose a Sanskrit verse in praise on the Ganges. And the Pandita, with a short time, composed 100 slokas, reciting the verses like a storm and showing the strength of his vast learning. Namai Pandita at once memorized all the slokas without an error. He quoted the 64th sloka and pointed out certain rhetorical and literary irregularities. He particularly questioned the Pandita's use of the word. What's that word?
Bhavani Bartu. Also, it's called Pandit. You don't pronounce the A.
Oh, it's Pandit.
Yeah, Pandit.
Okay. He pointed out that the use of this word was redundant. Bhavani means the wife of Shiva, and who else can be here? Bharata and or husband. He also pointed out several other discrepancies, and the Kashmir Pandit was struck with wonder. He was astonished that the mere student of grammar could point out the literary mistakes of a erudite scholar. Although this matter was ended prior to any public meeting, the news spread like wildfire all over Navadvip. Finally, Kasava Kashmir was ordered in a dream by Saraswati,
That's it.
Saraswati, yeah, the goddess of learning, to submit the Lord, and thus the Kashmir Pandit became a follower of the Lord.
Yeah, he memorized all of the verses at one. He was like right off the top of his head. It was like freestyling, reciting these 100 verses in praise of the Ganges. He memorized them all and then pointed out the literary faults in each verse.
I'm gonna have to do that, so I have to maybe put a day where I can learn how to pronounce these words and goddesses and a little bit better.
Well, once you read a little bit and hear from the devotees, and you'll find out how they're pronounced. Okay, Devananda. This is a long.
The Lord was then married. The Lord was then married with great pomp and gaiety, and at this time he began to preach the congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord at Navadvip. Some of the Brahmanas became envious of his popularity, and they put many hindrances on his path. They were so jealous that they finally took the matter before the Muslim magistrate at Navadvip. Bengal was then governed by Pathans, and the governor of the province was Nawab Hussain Shah. The Muslim magistrate of Navadvip took up complaints of the Brahmanas seriously, and at first he warned the followers of Nimai Pandit not to chant loudly the name of Hari. But Lord Chaitanya asked his followers to disobey the orders of the Qazi. Similar, almost Nazi or Qazi, huh? And they went on with their Sankirtan chanting party as usual. The magistrate then sent constables who interrupted his Sankirtan and broke some of the mridangas, drums. When Nimai Pandit heard of this incident, he organized a party for civil disobedience. He is the pioneer of the civil disobedience movement in India for the right cause. He organized a procession of 100,000 men with thousands of mridangas and kartals, hand cymbals, and this procession passed over the roads of Navadvip in defiance of the Qazi, who had issued the order. Finally, the procession reached the house of the Qazi, who went upstairs out of fear of the masses. The great crowds assembled at the Qazi's house displayed a violent temper, but the Lord asked them to be peaceful. At this time, the Qazi came down and tried to pacify the Lord by addressing him as nephew. He pointed out that he referred to Nilambara Chakravarti as uncle, and thus Srimati Sachi Devi, Nimai Pandit's mother, was his cousin's sister. He asked the Lord whether his sister's son could be angry at his maternal uncle, and the Lord replied that since the Qazi was his maternal uncle, he should receive his nephew well at his home. In this way, the issue was mitigated, and the two learned scholars began a long discussion on the Quran and Hindu Shastras. The Lord raised the question of cow killing, And the Kasi properly answered him by referring to the Quran. In turn, the Kasi also questioned the Lord about cow sacrifice in the Vedas. And the Lord replied that such sacrifice, as mentioned in the Vedas, is not actually cow killing. In that sacrifice, an old bull or cow was sacrificed for the sake of receiving a fresh, younger life by the power of Vedic mantras. But in Kali Yuga, such cow sacrifices are forbidden because there are no qualified brahmanas capable of conducting such a sacrifice. In fact, in Kali Yuga, all yagyas, sacrifices, are forbidden because they are useless attempts by foolish men. In Kali Yuga, only the Sankirtan Yaga is recommended for all practical purposes. Speaking in this way, the Lord finally convinced the Kasi, who became the Lord's follower. The Kasi thenceforth declared that no one should hinder the Sankirtan movement, which was started by the Lord. And the Kasi left this order in his will for the sake of progeny. The Kasi's tomb still exists in the area of Navadvip, and Hindu pilgrims go there to show their respects. The Kasi's descendants are residents, and they never objected to Sankirtan, even during the Hindu-Muslim riot days.
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya is the first, inventing civil disobedience for the right cause. Everybody's an activist nowadays for this cause or that cause, but this is the only really good cause, because the holy name is all important. Is actually the only thing that we have that can get us to Krishna consciousness. So, he organized a huge, that actually has some effect, especially if they were like angry and riled up, like the crowd was. I mean, he told them to cool it, but they had already destroyed, I think, some of his garden all around his house, and they were pissed, And so he was kind of intimidated with that. And wasn't there a pastime where we're going to running out of time, actually? But does anybody have any questions? We got like less than 2 minutes left here.
I have one. I got that Brahma Joyita poster, and I was wondering, does the one goddess named Durga run Mother Nature, the supreme goddess that runs a material world? I'm still trying to figure out what this one poster where it says we're in subtle and gross, and then above that look as Durga, and then there's Shiva. I'm kind of a little stuck on this one. It's actually that poster you have in your living room.
Well, Durga is the wife of Lord Shiva, isn't it, Devananda?
Yeah.
Durga's, is that a name for Krishna's sister too, Subhadra?
Yeah, but she's the external, she is the figurehead of the external energy of Krishna. She's responsible.
Okay.
She's responsible for covering the living entities in this world. There's two types of illusion. There's two types of Maya. Maya means illusion. One is Yoga Maya. Well, actually, there's only one. Ultimately, there's one. It's called Yoga Maya. But Yoga Maya has a second division, which is called Mahamaya. So Yoga Maya are for the living entities, or
we're going to get cut off here.
Yeah, they're in an intimate relationship with Krishna as servant, friend, parent, or lover. So they don't realize Krishna's God, but because of their love. But then there's Mahamaya. Mahamaya means forgetfulness of our relationship with God. And in Mahamaya, we suffer as living entities. We suffer in this world under the influence of Mahamaya, and this is Durga's energy.